Hello everybody, Plato here, and I hope you're all excited and ready for that Worldslayer launch happening on June 30th. However, before we get to that point, let's take a look at the new PAX Trees they mentioned in that launch trailer. For this video, we're going to go ahead and focus on the Pyromancer PAX Tree. If you want to take a look at Devastator, Trickster, or Technomancer, links down in the description below for those PAX Trees, and the full image files for the Pyromancer PAX Trees will also be in the description down below. I did also want to mention that we only have a maximum of 5 PAX points to spend on these new trees, so do keep that in mind. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the top PAX tree, the Gunblazer, with our first node coming in hot. Deal 15% more damage to enemies above 80% health, and 30% more damage to enemies below 30% health. This is a good bonus, 15% more damage on your initial shots and skills, and an Executioner type secondary portion for finishing off low health enemies. This is going to be a really good bonus and will have some good synergy with some of the nodes later on. Our next node is going to be Ashen Regalia. Killing marked enemies increases your damage mitigation by 5% for 8 seconds, stacks up to 3 times, so a total of 15% damage mitigation bonus for killing marked enemies. This synergizes really well with the Pyro's healing mechanic to make you a little bit more tanky. Moving on to our third node, Ashen Wake, your shots damage all enemies afflicted with ash within a 4-meter radius of the target, dealing 35% of the damage dealt. This is really good when you have enemies grouped up, and could synergize well with something like Crematorium, the T2 weapon mod, while your mobilized skills are on cooldown. This is basically going to be a built-in ultimate damage link / pain transfer for Pyro. This can be potentially insane if the following factors come into effect. Afflicted by ash does not just have to be your own ash blast, but could be a fellow Pyro or ashen bullets. The dealing 35% of damage dealt works like ultimate damage link, where it keeps multiplying upon itself. Excellent node, and we love that AoE in Outriders. Our next node is going to be Hot Streak. Critical shots increase weapon damage by 7%, bonus lasts up to 4 seconds, and stacks up to 5 times, and you can get this up to 35% weapon damage bonus, so you're getting rewarded for landing your crits, which you should always be aiming for. For node number 5, we have Carbonization. Enemies hit by your mobilized skills receive 25% more anomaly damage for 4 seconds. Your mobilized skills will be Feed the Flames and Ash Blast. Carbonization also acts like a partial death sentence, so your teammates will also get the benefit of the 25% more anomaly damage. Remember, while Volcanic Rounds is active, not only do you ignore armor, because you're going through resistance piercing, the damage from your shots is converted into anomaly damage, so this will be a 25% multiplier that will affect those or any other skill, as well as your burn damage on the enemy. From Carbonization, we have Carbon Footprint. Each enemy hit by mobilized skills reduces the cooldown of the other mobilized skill by 1 second, and immobilized skills are Feed the Flames and Ash Blast. This looks to be okay. It synergizes well with Ashen Wake and can allow for some very quick cooldowns on your mobilized spells to keep enemies locked down, debuffed, and keep the ammo flowing if you're going to use the T1 Feed the Flames mod Bullet Absorption. This will also synergize really well for the T3 mod for Feed the Flames with Flame Grasper. With this mod, you'll be able to grasp 3 additional targets and allow you to get your Ash Blast cooldown by 3 seconds at a time. It will also likely mean that you don't need to invest as much cooldown reduction shards and can sneak in a bit more long range or close range damage. Be fun to test this one for sure. At number 7, we have Solar Flare. Activating skills increases your critical damage by 10% for 6 seconds, and this can stack up to 2 times, giving up to 20% critical damage bonus just for using your skills, so not bad at all. Next, we have Critical Mass. Critical shots on marked enemies turn all shots into critical shots for 3 seconds. This is going to synergize really well with the T2 armor mod Reforging Bullets. I wonder if this buff keeps itself going indefinitely as long as you're shooting something. Seems like it could be really fun and great for those having trouble finding the crit spot.
Sorry, children.
At number 9, we have Carbon Ammo. Increase your magazine size by 200%. Everything Firepower Pyro has been asking for and more. We finally got Extended Mag, and boy, it's a big one.
Sorry, children.
This means triple the magazine capacity for your weapons, much more easier to maintain uptime on your Volcanic Rounds. Heading to the final node for the Gunblazer PAX tree, we have Bullet Frenzy. Shots with assault weapons increase your weapon damage by 2%. This effect stacks until you stop shooting. Yeah, this node is actually pretty fucking insane. We'll have to see exactly how it works out, but it doesn't even mention hitting an enemy, just firing your weapon. So from what we can gather so far, you can pretty much spray blindly for damage, no mention cap at all, which looks really fun. Now I do have one concern about Bullet Frenzy, and you probably guessed this yourself, but how does it work with the tactical variant of the assault rifle? Remember, the effect stacks until you stop shooting. Well, with the tactical version of the assault rifle, we're firing in 3 burst increments, so there is going to be a window of time where we do stop shooting. Is it going to allow for the break between the 3 bursts, or is this buff going to be instantly gone the second we let go of the trigger? Not to mention, what if we hold down the tactical AR rather than tapping for the increased accuracy and increased fire rate? Will holding the trigger down count as until you stop shooting? We'll have to test and find out. If the top tree didn't seem crazy enough, let's go ahead and move down to that bottom PAX tree, the Pyromaniac, starting with our first node, Melting Point. Increase your resistance piercing by 15% when above 80% health and by 30% when below 40% health. This will go ahead and synergize well with the Unstoppable Force T3 mod and some of the later nodes. This is a good bonus when you're topped off, or a better bonus when you're in a bad spot. Our second node here is going to be Scorched Flesh. Activating Ignite skills increases your status power by 15% for 5 seconds and stacks up to 3 times. The Ignite skills are going to be Heat Wave, Volcanic Rounds, and Phaser Beam. We can get up to a 45 increase in our status power and looks to play into a build focused around Heat Wave and Phaser Beam. Phaser damage is increased by status power, so it's a good bonus for that skill. Moving along, we have Master Exploder. Explosive skill damage is increased by 100% of your resistance piercing. Explosive skills are Thermal Bombs, Overheat, and Eruption. This node synergizes well with the first node Melting Point as well as other sources of resistance pierce. Our fourth node is going to be Conduction. Reduce your skill cooldowns by 15%. This is a mandatory node, but it's one of the damn good ones for sure. If this node works similarly to the Wildfire Capstone node in the class tree, this will be an additive bonus with that node, as well as the cooldown from your gear attributes, meaning potentially you can have base CDR of up to about 63%, which is a massive bonus. Our next node is going to be Furnace. Increase your status power by 20% for every enemy afflicted with burn, stacks up to 5 times. This is going to be a very nice bonus to Phaser Beam and or Heat Wave debuff burn builds. Up to 100% additional status power if you keep enemies burning will be very interesting to try out. Next, we have Burned Offerings. Increase your burn duration by 500% and each consecutive burn tick on an enemy deals 10% more damage. With this node, we could see the rise of some powerful debuff/burn builds depending on synergies found in the PAX trees and base class trees, namely the Firestorm base class tree. Burn lasts 6 seconds at base and ticks every half second. Taking nothing else into account, this extends burn duration to 36 seconds and as much as up to 50 seconds taking the burn duration nodes in the class tree. Each consecutive tick of burn will deal 10% more damage. Now we'll have to see exactly how this plays out, if it's going to be an additive or a multiplicative bonus. The previous node Furnace increased our status power by 20% per burning enemy, so this opens up a real possibility of a burn damage over time build becoming fairly powerful. Not to mention, if you add even an eensy bit amount of skills life leech, you'd be pretty much unkillable. Now we'll have to actually get our hands on the Worldslayer update to see how this pans out. Is this going to be too slow, or does the damage ramp up fast enough with enough status power and damage multiplier and debuffs? We'll just have to wait and see. Heading down, we have Backdraft. Your anomaly power is increased by 30% for every skill on cooldown. This is a very nice bonus and seems amazing for Ash Blast Overheat builds or any build setting up a big nuke with 2 setup skills. For number 8, we have Trigger Sequence. Activating an explosive skill increases the damage of the next explosive skill by 30%. This buff stacks up to 3 times, after which it starts anew. This is going to be really good for winding up a big explosive nuke. A great application is to use thermal bombs to debuff your enemies to follow up with a huge eruption. Moving along to our second to last node on the bottom Pyromaniac PAX tree, we have Convection. Reduce all skills cooldown by 4% when all skills are on cooldown. This node is going to be excellent for eruption builds and extremely insane for Ash Blast Overheat. Skill spamming for days, baby! There's a reason the bottom PAX tree is named Pyromaniac, because for the last node, Arsonist. Activating skills has 30% chance to reset all skills cooldown, and this is on an internal 5-second cooldown. This is going to be extremely strong for certain builds. I think eruption builds could see the most value out of this node. Eruption cooldown is a huge problem, as we all know, and for those builds, this possibly just solved that issue. Even if this doesn't trigger when you want it to, blasting away all of our eruption and other cooldowns just allows synergy with the previous node Convection for taking seconds off all cooldowns and giving you another shot at the resets. This node will be really fun to play and to test with, so I cannot wait. And that is going to go ahead and bring us to an end to our Pyromancer PAX trees with the Worldslayer update that will be launching this June 30th. Anything that we currently see here can still be subject to change, as this is not the final version of the game, so do keep that in mind. If you want to go ahead and check out the PAX trees for Devastator, Trickster, and Technomancer, you should be seeing them popping on the screen now, and they'll also be linked in the description down below, so please check it out. As usual guys, until the next one, peace.